with Love Meghan has been a fascinating nosedive when it comes to a launch, a show, a person. It has been so intense and almost frenzied, the reaction to it and the negative reaction to it and all the little things in it. There was a lot to criticize about it. Even mainstream media and magazines that have previously been sympathetic to the Sussexes have panned it because it's just a bad product at the end of the day. And it's created a rather stimulating conversation around celebrities and certain nepotism type situations where somebody is being given a platform or opportunities that they don't necessarily deserve that then blow up in their face. Basically, this has become a case study in how to flop. And as we talked about in other videos and some coming up, this from a PR perspective, Meghan was trying to launch this new image of herself, and there's lots of reasons why that wasn't working. And obviously there was no weighing of the risks, pros, cons, and gains before doing this project. But playing devil's advocate, the Meg trying to give a more authentic look into her as a person or her life or her personality, and wanting to demonstrate something different than the mean boss articles that had plagued her throughout 2024 and early 2025 would, in theory, make sense. When you have something come out that's bad press, if it really isn't true, then it's easier to deny because ideally you would have some receipts to prove it wrong and sort of clear your name type of a vibe. If you don't have that, or you did perhaps behave in a way that was less than stellar, or do something wrong, or make some mistakes or whatever, of course you have options, one of which would be to apologize, fix the behavior, and not do it again. Moving forward, people love to forgive for things like that because it takes guts and strength to actually apologize and admit that you made mistakes. So people tend to want to reward that and be like, that is the right thing to do, so we will give you another chance. We've seen it lots of times with celebrities. But also there is the counter-narrative strategy, which is what Meghan has clearly chosen as her weapon in this battle against revealing press articles that have shown her to be not so pleasant of a human being. Even if that weren't fully true, I'm not sure this was the right approach to combat it. The biggest problem with this sort of counter-narrative approach that she has taken is that when she has spent several years giving her version of events, which we have found out were a lot of lies, exaggerations, misrepresentations, and mischaracterizations, and she and Harry's truths about people, including the royal family, staff, and journalists, and other specific people from their lives, those people who didn't have the opportunity to clear their name or give their side of the story or to correct the narrative, Meghan knew that going into it. So we have an individual who sort of took advantage of the fact that the people she was going to speak negatively about were not going to correct the narrative or fight back, were not going to defend themselves, and she took that sort of power, if you could use that word. I don't like that word in this situation, but she took that position and used it unfairly and irresponsibly. And she did lie, she did exaggerate, she did plant ist stories, and she did make situations and people out to be something that they weren't. And this was found out by the public, and so her trustworthiness has already been incredibly low ever since then. But once it did come out that Meghan had fabricated a lot of what she had said on Oprah, in Netflix, and in other interviews that they've done, all sorts of projects, she lied flat out countless times. She threw people under the bus. She mischaracterized situations and she ignored the truth of the matter. Years later, sort of cowardly, Harry said, no, we never called my family ist, but they did on Oprah. And they did allude to it and feed that narrative many times in the years between accusing people of ist behaviors and saying, no, that's not what we meant. Years later, when Harry did an interview with Tom Bradby for Spare promotion. And those were that was the only thing that sort of got corrected in a sort of half-assed sort of a way. It didn't really get corrected. It wasn't the right way to abandon that narrative, I guess you could say. Everybody else just still got the short end of the stick there. So the question is, now, should someone who did that, Meghan, who has done that, be afforded the opportunity to defend themselves or show a different side to themselves to counter those reports that they are mean and difficult? Should they be allowed to reveal a more personable side of themselves and connect with the public or share insights or offer their side of the story when it comes to accusations of copying or being a bad friend or boss or being unlikable? Should they be afforded that chance to do that free of scrutiny when they themselves did not extend similar courtesy to others? When Meghan perpetrated character assassinations on people that were completely unfounded, when Meghan lied about people and took years to make her husband sort of take it back or walk it back a little bit, when Meghan built her reputation on being a victim and turned around and backpedaled it long after the damage was done. While we can all agree that everyone deserves to defend themselves against claims or criticisms, and we all have a realistic understanding that not everyone is going to like everyone else, and people are going to have conflict, and it doesn't automatically mean they're bad. Not everyone will be perfect all of the time. Mistakes do happen. Sometimes people are having a bad day or a bad week. People can grow and change, and it doesn't need to define them who they were or how they were before those points of growth. At least not all of the time. But where is that line where you don't get that chance anymore? You don't get to just keep moving forward and trying to rebrand and engage and offer counter narratives. At a certain point, you don't get to do that without apologizing and acknowledging what you did. Where is that line where it's like, this is kind of the limit of what people are willing to be like, yeah, we can excuse this away and let this go, or no, this is pretty sinister or pretty serious, or this has done untold damage to so many people that it's kind of too big of a deal to just be like, yeah, go ahead, make a whole entire show to try to push a counter narrative. Go ahead. And we will not scrutinize it. Because of course, people can do whatever they want. You can do whatever you want. But whether it should be criticized, scrutinized, picked apart, what we've seen is that the general public and the media feels that because of Meghan's past actions, because of the way she's conducted herself, because of all this history we just covered, she doesn't deserve to have this show just taken at face value. She does deserve criticism and scrutiny over this rebrand and counter-narrative because of the history here. The hypocrisy is quite frankly impossible to ignore, and it leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouths when they look at the Meg like this on her show and recall that she lied about isms, that she lied about journalists and staff and members of her family, her in-laws. She did great damage to people on a personal level and on a public level, only to send Harry 4 years later to sort of wimpily and cowardly say, no, we weren't saying isms per se. The lamest walkback you could possibly imagine. That's the line that we're seeing the general public make in the sand, and the media as well. And so each time the Meg tries to erase that past, the past 5 years, with projects like these or squishy interviews like the People magazine one or the Drew one, people and the public say no, not so fast. It's a clear consensus at this point. Not just that she's not charismatic on screen or in podcasting, not that she's just not very likable or doesn't have a great sense of humor. It's not just that her personality doesn't come across as genuine or likable, at least not in these projects anyway. It's not just that. Those things are established consensus for sure. But it's also this emerging consensus amongst the public that no, she probably shouldn't be given any more opportunities to try to manipulate her image or the narrative. She shouldn't be welcomed into more projects or platforms. It's not just that she doesn't deliver value and doesn't put in effort and all the things that we talk about that are frustrating to watch someone who's handed opportunities do that cause them to fail, that are avoidable. It's also that people just don't agree with giving the Meg more opportunities after everything she's done. And that makes sense. Back in the day, people who caused this sort of chaos were sort of ostracized from their communities and societies. People didn't want to do business with you at all. And when the scale is so big and show business is what it is, those sorts of things get muddied and confused. And now we're seeing that people still actually genuinely feel that way. That if you have been proven time and time again to have a pattern of really toxic behavior and you've done a lot of really crazy, irresponsible things. I mean, let's be clear. It is crazy to go on Oprah where millions of people are going to watch and tell lies about your family who is also famous. Like, that is crazy. And we're seeing that people and the public and publications are like, yeah, no, that is, we can't really keep moving forward here with somebody who has done this time and time again, over and over and over. It's impossible to just let that go. Nepotism in general is also frowned upon in a lot of arenas because people are getting opportunities they didn't really earn or maybe didn't deserve. Not saying that people who Nepo babies or just people who get jobs or opportunities because of their family or wealth or anything like that. Not saying that they don't have anything to offer or any talent. It's just people are sort of fed up with seeing people get an easy ride and deliver subpar results. And that's kind of what's happening with Meghan. This is a very similar situation, how it doesn't come across well to the public because clearly, as evidenced by the lack of value and lack of success of every single project she has done and tried. None of it has been successful so far, and she's tried writing books, she's tried doing this business as ever / American Riviera Orchard Montecito. She's tried doing lots of talking, like speeches and stuff, like being for hire to come talk at events the way Harry does. Meghan tried to do that and it wasn't successful. So now only Harry still does that, like speaking fees and speaking engagements. We've seen Meghan try to do the philanthropic stuff. We've seen Meghan try to get involved in red carpet things with celebrity things. We've seen Meghan try to do this show. We've seen Meghan try to podcast. All of it is unsuccessful. None of it has delivered value or quality. And so clearly she has only been given those chances because she married into the royal family and then she shat on it ungratefully. Ergo, more airtime is clearly just vanity and thanks to Harold. Meghan is some sort of weird version of a Nepo baby who is only given opportunities because she married someone whose name is Prince Harry. But I'd love to hear what you think about this. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!